Hello! Yesterday I made a video about a beautiful bouquet I got. It was the second one and I was really thrilled, and I started talking about flowers, and it reminded me of the fact that I always liked flowers, and flowers and nature are quite important in my life, and I think there can be a booster of your mood and of your perception, because we are all running after things which are deemed important, and we are not noticing those simply beautiful details all around us. And I was inspired by one comment about the significance of flower and beauty in Dutch society. And since I live in Holland for quite some time, I actually learned a lot about this, and this is really phenomenon interesting to discuss, but also we have a lot to learn from Dutchies. So I just decided to elaborate on that a little bit more today and to tell you about another gem that I know here, which is Keukenhof, which I visited just last weekend, and I have some photos to share from there. So let's start. First of all, one of the main industries in Holland is production of flowers. For example, I think that they are maybe even #1 exporter of flowers, and they are really producing that on a massive scale. For example, when you're traveling somewhere from Amsterdam to, let's say, The Hague, you're looking at a massive fields with tulips, and the scale at which they are producing flowers and vegetables is really unimaginable, knowing that they actually took majority of that land from the sea. But this is another impressive story of Holland's success. Let me tell you about Keukenhof first. Keukenhof means, Keuken means kitchen, and Hof, also in German, means a garden. So basically, Keukenhof was in the beginning the kitchen garden for spices and plants for a noblewoman who was owning that estate. She was French, as I can remember. I can't remember the name. We can check that online, but not essential for the story. She actually started cultivating that in the sense that she's raising and collecting the plants from all over the world, and she started with those which are in use in a French kitchen. The history of the state is complicated, but after the Second World War, the Tweede Wereldoorlog, I think 40 most prominent producers of tulips joined forces, and they basically bought big patches of land around that estate, and they made it the best possible exhibition display of flowers that you can see on Earth. I'm not aware of something similar elsewhere. You can visit Keukenhof from March to May, I think end May, because this is the full bloom of many flowers that they are producing. And basically this is, I think, 40 hectares estate covered in all kinds of flowers, and they design for people to see, for display, every single year a different landscape architecture. There are some similarities because there is an artificial lake, there are small Japanese garden, they are part of the estate where there are only orchids and indoor plants, but mainly all kind of imaginable sorts of flowers, because they are actively producing it. Because let us remember, in 16th century they started with this kind of trade by importing a very small tulip from Turkey. It is from the Himalaya region, and back then and even now this is even still the synonym of that empire. But they basically made it possible that you have couple of hundreds different species from this big to tulip like this, which when you can see, you cannot decide whether it is tulip something different, maybe not even the same species. So I'm going to share in the end of this video a series of pictures that I took on display, because anyone can order tulips from that estate and implant that in their own garden or balcony. So people are doing that on massive scale. For example, you can order tulips from there and they're sending you in October. And this is beautiful because I myself find the most beautiful so-called parrot tulips. Basically, they discovered that their lattices are changing shape and form in bubbly ones and very un-Euclidean form when they are infected by a virus. And also they are producing several layers tulip, which are multiple tulips actually. Some of those pictures you will see, and I will put the link. What is most important for me personally, actually my father reminded me on this, and I also read somewhere, for example, in The Signature of All Things by Elizabeth Gilbert, there is a story about family of Beatrix van Deventer, who was the daughter of the older family who started actually botanical garden, Hortus Botanicus in Amsterdam, which is older than 450 years now. And they also started with medicinal plants in the beginning because that was a time of a big plague. So they produced that for doctors to try to cure their patients. But later on that grew to a huge collection of plants from all over the world, considering that Dutch climate is so beneficial for plants and you almost never had a freezing conditions and it is very humid and mild. So walking on the street of the Amsterdam, you can see, for example, palms surviving outside, and also some plants you wouldn't believe that they will survive in, for example, Central European climate. So there is one description of Beatrix van Deventer which I couldn't agree more. She said Elizabeth Gilbert actually very skillfully mimicked the kind of thinking from that area, which I like very much, and whole Dutch culture, that really established women should have both a big original garden and established and well curated library. And this is my personal aim, to have both. And all other things are in between, like medicinal plants and spices and things like that. But flowers are really, they don't have commercial value. They are lasting for a couple of days, but they are epitomizing the beauty. And this is one of the most important things in life, search for beauty. You don't have to be an artist to do that, but you know, I tend to collect my small collection of flowers, and I always use the opportunity to enjoy that beauty all around me. I suggest you do the same, because even collection of plants which are attracting bees, which is very common for Dutchies to cultivate, because we all know that bees are endangered. But if you organize a small balcony, small part of land or a pot or something on your balcony, you can have several types of plant which are not so elaborated and beautiful, but they are attracting bees or butterflies or something like that. So for example, Dutch people who are doing that as a part of their everyday life, they're buying flowers, they're seeding flowers, they're, you know, visiting gardens. For example, there are more than 65 botanical gardens in Netherlands, and they are considered to be museums and open. And this is also very beautiful. I visited majority of them. Some of them you can walk through for a couple of hours, but some of them, you know, a couple of days are not enough. For example, some of them have more than 80 acres, so it would be impossible to do that as a tourist in even a couple of days. But it always started with people who really had sense of collecting plants and sense for that kind of beauty, and later they transferred that to gemeente or townhouse or university to take care of that huge and very important collection for every city. More about that in the next video. So I hope you will enjoy in my photos of beautiful tulips from Keukenhof. Thank you.